Yeah.
That was an episode that managed to complete every storyline that they had running in the parallel time.
Ever. No, seriously.
Well,
seriously, it really did.
Yeah, it did. But I was going to say, and simultaneously act as a wrap-up of every major theme from the series.
It was an epilogue. I mean, it was almost like this weird afterlife rhapsody. It was this strange epilogue, because I mean, one of the things I definitely see it as an epilogue, and I also it is a necessary continuation of the Barnabas Angelique story.
Mm-hmm.
And that I mean, one of the things I walk away with this is that this is about that I can't think of these as characters. It's the Jonathan Frid character. It's the Lara Parker character.
Well, they are archetypes.
Yeah.
Like they're, and I don't mean that in terms of literary archetypes. I mean in the universe that Dark Shadows operates in, every timeline has a Barnabas. Every timeline has a Lara Parker Angelique. And
that the Willie Loomis character, for instance, winds up with Carolyn, and that he has found the inner hero in him, and that he's the one who saves Barnabas. But Barnabas has earned his respect.
Mm-hmm.
The Barnabas, not just Barnabas, the Barnabas,
mm-hmm.
the Angelique, and that the Elizabeth is okay.
Yes. I mean, it's
letting go of her daughter.
Yeah, letting go of the daughter, but also coming to terms with all the horrors that have been visited upon the family. Basically, we're talking about it's like commedia masks.
Yes, and the Julia. This is the amazing. The Julia becomes her companion.
Yes.
The Julia becomes her companion
because the Julia is a healer.
Yes.
She is a healing figure, and so she will heal the wound, whatever, maybe whether physical or emotional or psychic.
And will guard, because she's still there at Collinwood, and the Julia has let go.
Oh, very much.
Of Barnabas.
By this last timeline, it's the 1840s where Julia completely gives up, because the 1840s Julia is present for the revelation of the Barnabas's love for the Angelique.
Yes.
And so here, in the next rendition, almost the next rebirth, in the 1841 parallel time, that Julia is completely, that has closed off, and so she's completely free of any connection romantically to the Barnabas character.
Yes.
It was a very powerful episode.
It was incredibly powerful. I had remembered it as being sort of a Shaggy Dog story,
mm-hmm.
let down, with that Thayer David monologue at the end. No. That's it. It ties everything up. It's exactly what the series needs. Curtis pulled it off.
Yeah, and what they managed to do, and it makes me feel like, personally, I don't know the actual facts of the matter, it makes me feel like that Curtis and maybe one or two of them, maybe Sam Hall, knew about the cancellation long before everyone else did.
I suspect they had a little more lead time.
And the reason is, when you get to the final episode, you have, in the final episode, Joan Bennett, Grayson Hall, Jonathan Frid, Louis Edmonds, Nancy Barrett, John Carlin, and Thayer David.
So your core.
You have your core. The only person you're missing is Selby, who I think at this point is in the hospital.
He's in the hospital, yeah.
And obviously other people had come and gone. Moltke was gone, and Crothers was gone, and Mitch Ryan and everything from the early years. But every single core character was there, and they weren't there running around for no reason, other than Thayer David, who just sort of showed up. Every character fit into the arc of how they wrapped up the last 10 episodes.
That's right.
So I feel like at some point, Curtis sat down with Hall and just said, "We've got 2 weeks to wrap all this up, and I want every single one of my main characters in the last episode."
Oh, that's absolutely. I mean, even just Thayer David carrying her in and doing the last voice. And my androcentric reading, that it would go from an opening reading by Alexandra Moltke to an ending reading by by your wise man.
Yeah.
I've been told to get off the phone and enter the conversation. So this is me getting off the phone and entering the conversation.
Oh, all right, very good. Yes, Mr. Mitchell.
I'm going outside.
He's going outside for a smoke. That is his equivalent of it.
I don't know a damn
Thank you,
thing about
Butch.
dark shadows, so.
Thank you, Butch. That was Butch.
Was it Butch?
Yeah, that was
Hey,
good.
Butch!
All right, all right. Well, I will. I'll be doing video stuff and all of that tonight and in the time to come. When I see him wrapping it up, when I really, I feel like, okay, what can we do for Carlin? And what what Carlin has gone through and what Carlin has represented, and to me the images of Bromwell and did I say it right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bramwell and Carlin.
Bramwell.
Or Barnabas and Carlin, or whatever you have a combination. They're all interchangeable.
Well, what I was going to say is Bromwell and Catherine.
Uh-huh.
So intimate and so in love,
Mm-hmm.
and so free to enjoy the other person and the solidity that this other person is in their life. After having been robbed, just the prior day, for me,
For you,
for me, is really pretty amazing, and I just feel like that is I haven't quite digested all of that yet.
Sure.
But they feel connected.
I think they're completely connected. I think it comes down to Bramwell has a line. There's a final showdown, for those of you who haven't seen the episode, with Morgan has taken Catherine hostage, and he's waiting for Bramwell to come up on the roof so he can kill both of them and throw them both from the roof. And Bramwell's trying to talk him down, and he says, no matter what mistakes we have made or horrible things have happened, we must go in peace. That's there. I mean, and that's what the last episode is. In the last episode, they could have ended it, and I think a lot of shows nowadays would have ended it with a great burn everything down moment, horrors and travesties. But no, everyone, all the main characters, all the main players get a happy ending.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to send everyone else out. And that final little, oh no, she's got bite marks on her neck. Is there another vampire? Are we leaving these people?
No, sometimes people get bitten by an animal.
No, she's attacked by an animal. She's fine. She'll be fine. Is that we're going to go in peace. We're gonna let the audience have closure, which is amazing how they managed to pull that off. Considering, I mean, you could almost only do it in a soap opera where your lead time is 2 to 3 days on an episode.
So my thinking here is that there should be no sequels.
You mean a continuation of the story?
Yeah.
Certainly no. I'm not going to declare the series sacrosanct, but
Not sacrosanct, but gosh, it's another kettle of
it
fish.
Well, I say they don't need anything. The Prime Universe got its ending, where
Yes.
everyone is happy and everything is safe and everything is solved.
I would counter that.
Oh.
I would counter that. I would say, yeah, I mean, Barnabas
No.
is a shambles. Barnabas
No,
is where
true.
Kirk is at the end of City on the Edge of Forever.
No, that's true.
And that's why this, metaphorically and spiritually, has to happen.
That's true.
It is the reward for the Barnabas.
I guess I was thinking more along the lines of like the plot threads.
The plot threads, yeah. I mean, the future is saved. They've saved the future.
They've saved the future, and they will have to deal with the repercussions of their human emotions, but not fear for supernatural incursions.
Yes.
And a potential reading, talking about the Barnabas, there is only one curse. The curse.
The curse.
And in both universes, both Parallel Time 1841 and 1970, both curses have been lifted.
Yes.
And if we're assuming both parallel times are the same universe, which there's no reason why they wouldn't be the same universe.
Yes.
That tells me that the show has told me that all curses are lifted.
Yeah.
in every universe, is that if you popped into 1972 Dark Shadows, 1995 Dark Shadows, parallel times,
So
curses are lifted.
So here's something. Okay, so the curse in the Prime universe is lifted by Angelique's choice, by her volition, by her realization.
Yes.
In this universe,
Mm-hmm.
it is lifted by
love.
By love.
By dedication and love of the Barnabas and the Angelique.
So
love is the core component in both.
Yes, and to the series. And so almost what I would ask is that, in a lot of stories you have the false ending and then the real ending. You kind of have that point where you think you're out of the woods and then no, there's just that one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if Angelique lifting the curse
Mm-hmm.
is okay, we think we're out of the woods. If we think completely just metaphorically and spiritually about the show, and then we're thrown back into it, it's almost as if everything prior to that has been Barnabas's test. And then everything 1841 is her test. Okay, you don't have your powers, you don't have any of that.
Yeah.
Do you have, you claim you love him, and he claims he loves you, and that's real nice, but can you demonstrate it? Can you walk that? Does that?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So that continues them. So that they're not. It's not like we're going to throw in another little curses lanyard, but it's
right. You could say both are initiations, or both are ritualistic cleansings.
Sure, I choose to lift the curse.
Yes.
And now I will be tested to see whether the curse is actually lifted, and if the person from whom I lifted it
Mm-hmm.
has the capacity to truly love me.
Yes.
And to truly sacrifice everything.
Sure.
So Barnabas has to Barnabas has to follow through on it.
Yeah. Exactly. It's almost a prisoner's dilemma.
Okay.
Well, I mean, isn't that where it's if I vote yes and you vote yes, we both get it. But if I vote yes and you vote, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Is that she basically had to trust Barnabas in 1840 regular time. She had to trust that if she did the right thing, that he would love her.
Yes.
And then he said but she dies before finding out.
That's right. And so
this is
her finding out.
This is her finding out. Her prisoner's dilemma is she took the chance, and then in this other reality, that archetype finds out the realities, and the Barnabas comes back after 5 years and says, "Yes, I do love you."
And because I see this almost as either an epilogue
Mm-hmm.
or as some sort of fever dream Angelique has just between it's what's going on in the last 30 seconds of that 5 minutes of oxygen in her very human brain.
Is parallel time.
It's this fever dream. It's this thing where that's too literal.
Oh,
that's too literal.
No, the text doesn't back that up.
But it is. I think the storyline is absolutely necessary for this show.
Oh, I think so.
It's essential.
It is completely necessary. And the first 15 episodes of the 1841 parallel time storyline are not superfluous. There's even some good stuff in there, but they're not telling the story Patrick and I are talking about right now.
No, they're not.
It's really the last 10 to 12 episodes, where it's clear that Dan Curtis said, I want to give them a happy ending. Angelique and Barnabas are meant to be together. And we started that process at the end of 1840, and now that I know I don't have 2 or 3 more years to bring that back up, and I need to bring it to a resolution, I will show people exactly how it was meant to end, and that their love is real. It's very. It cannot be ignored that in this process you have Morgan, who is a sacrifice, an unfortunate sacrifice driven insane by Catherine's cheating and Bramwell. And so we can't pretend a purity of love, maybe, but not a purity of
Well, the
situation.
cheating element is one of the things that drives the whole thing going back to Josette.
Well, that's the other thing, and we can't forget Josette. In 1841 parallel time,
Morgan's the Josette.
Morgan's Josette.
Morgan is the dark Josette. He is the Josette with volition.
Yes. So in both instances, though it is a wonderful love and they get a great love story, it is always at the cost of someone else.
Oh yeah.
Which is not, I don't think that's condemning. I think that is an incredible, rational, and realistic view of the world, that of a give and take in a zero-sum game situation. That you know, there are winners and losers, and people who gain and people who lose, and that's just the nature of things.
Well, so let's now take another step outward to a place I don't like going, but I'm taking us there so I can.
Okay.
and that's politically. And that's that you've got, because I've gone there a number of times
Yeah, sure.
and I always say I don't like going there, and then I go there on the website or in the videos, but that you have America in a very transitional stage where, you know, it is realizing that it has wonderful muscles to flex and it can do wonderful things for the world, but you know there's that third law. There are consequences for every time it flexes its muscles to help something.
I mean, you're talking about Vietnam specifically.
I'm talking about Vietnam
and then
and really everything else. I mean, you know, the kind of the birth of a lot of the new era of government programs and everything else. And I don't say that in a condemning way. You know, even you know, if you look at civil rights, where we are very, very, very much standing up for something that has to happen. But guess what, Old South? You're going to have to give up some preconceptions of the way you have been used to the world operating, that, you know, every step of progress does require a trade in somehow, and that has to be on the writers' minds.
It does. And in the world of Dark Shadows, you only have one resource, and that is human. You trade in humanity. You trade in emotion.
Because they have all the money in the world.
Yes.
They remove the economic element completely.
Yeah. So there is none of that. And so for the writers, and the only option is, okay, well, people's emotions have to be hurt. They have to be destroyed. Their madness, you know, or their sanity, it comes and goes. At times, their physical health and well-being. So those are the things which, in theory, condemns every single character to being someone who harms at some point. Heck, even if you go back to Maggie Evans and Carolyn and Joe Haskell.
Well, and Elizabeth chucking Vicky out, if we look at that bit of metatext, which they never got to.
But it's there.
Okay, so here's the interesting thing. If everyone in the Dark Shadows universe, one way or another, is kind of victimizing someone else, does that not kind of level the playing field?
Oh, I think it completely levels the playing field. I think you're going to have the depths of the damage done by Angelique and Barnabas are equalized by the good that they do.
Yes.
Barnabas is responsible for the death of Josette and her endless suffering as a ghost. But he's also responsible for saving countless lives, Colin's lives and non-Colin's lives, throughout time, throughout space, and doing right. And Angelique lifts his curse and helps lift the curse of Judah Zachary, and so does that rectify things?
I think it does. And here's a fascinating thing to think about. If Barnabas had made, what other choices could Barnabas have made so that curse never got put on him in the first place?
Well, he could have not. No, I can't say what he can and can't do other than not fraternizing with Angelique.
Or after fraternizing with Angelique, if he had gone on with making an honest woman out of her.
That's true. That was one of his core mistakes. Yeah.
And stuck with that. But had he done all of that, she never would have put the curse on him. And keep in mind, she's already tainted from being Miranda Duvall.
Yes.
So she's carrying baggage. He never would have been cursed with vampirism. And without his curse of vampirism, Judah Zachary would have won.
Oh, completely.
All of those other things would have happened. And so, you know, talk about a trade.
Oh, it's a huge trade in many ways. You know, if we're balancing that equation, we're trading the life and the happiness and the long-term sorrow of Josette for the eventual resurrection and upholding of the Collins family in Collinsport and who knows the world. And at the same time, Josette, you know, I've never been a ghost for hundreds of years and terribly sad, and God willing, never will. But even Josette manages to, through Vicky, identify with someone and do right. Josette herself is turned into a force for good.
Yeah.
So, you know, Josette's the reason why Vicky doesn't die. You know, she and Bill Malloy. I love Bill Malloy. You know, that's really important.
If you had written this last episode, Bill Malloy would have somehow parachuted in on top of Morgan and just snapped his neck.
If only. I would have had Bill Malloy carry her in.
Carrie and Josette?
No, in the last episode, carry in Melanie, who had been bitten.
Oh, that would have been great.
I would have had Thayer David still do the final thing, and maybe Thayer David is with them for some reason. But God, actor Bill Malloy comes in.
So
Sorry.
before we go,
Yeah.
because I do feel like we probably need to wrap it up.
Yeah.
A couple of things. Gosh, it would have been nice if Gabriel weren't dead. So Chris Pennock could have been in the episode somewhere.
Yes.
And just privately, Don Briscoe.